Welcome to Straight from the Horse's Mouth, where we cut the BS and give you the truth all about sports. Once again, I am Bryce, the host of Bryce Davis.
What's good?
Back again for another episode. It's been an interesting week in sports.
Yeah.
As we barrel into the Final Four for the women's. The women's took place yesterday, so we know that it'll be Connecticut facing off against South Carolina.
Yep.
Shocker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two Titans, probably the two
of the greatest women's coaches currently. Gino and Don, with two of the most proficient programs of the past. It's more than 10 years at this point.
Well, it depends. So for Gino, 2 decade plus, right? Dating back to the Rebecca Lobo days, which kind of kicked everything off. And you had Sue Bird and Donna Taurasi and Maya Moore just kept going and going. For Dawn, probably the last half decade.
Yeah.
It's kind of really cemented herself as one of the greatest to ever do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although she's been coaching probably since
the
early
2000s. Since
You
early 2000s.
know what I mean? When she was at Temple.
Yep.
While she was literally
while she was coaching.
While she was hooping. Yeah. WNBA. But it's great to see two Titans go head to head. I got a chance to watch the UCLA Uconn game.
Yeah.
That game was over quick, fast, and hurry.
Yeah, absolute mud stomping.
Yeah.
In the UCLA.
One team, by the end of the first, to me, it was a wrap.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, this game's over, because one team looked like a deer in the headlight. One team like they came to hoop, another team like they were trying to figure out how to play a basketball game.
Facts.
And UConn was like, no, you're going to have to hoop today.
Yeah, I hope you brought your A game.
You know what I'm saying? And anytime I see a team, and it never fails, bro, and when you play basketball long enough, for the most part, barring little technical intricacies here, for everything you've been seeing since you were younger.
Yep.
Right? When I see teams start freaking out over, like, being pressed.
Yes.
And, like, oh, shit, this is a zone.
Yeah.
How do I – because the rule of thumb is when there's a zone, UConn was in a zone,
gotta shoot out
you have
the
to
zone.
Shoot them out of a zone.
Yep.
Well,
UCLA
air
ain't got no
mailing,
shooters. Ain't got no shooters to call they own.
And it looks like Gino, and every time they threw it into bets, he was swarming,
Yep.
or he was doing what I call the Zach Edey treatment last year, which is, hey man, we're just gonna let you.
Yeah, you can cook all you want.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about the rest of your team.
Exactly, exactly what happened. You know what I'm saying? So I think he was like, we're gonna live and die. If we get a chance, she get the ball in the post, and they threw horrible entry passes to her.
Awful.
They couldn't throw, bro. I knew they was. We call it nutting up. I know they was nutting up when they struggled throwing entry passes.
Yep.
Mind you, she's 6'7".
6'7", get it?
Oh,
I remember when what's her name, number 8 for UConn. It was early in the game. And they did a bad entry pass. She was like, "Yo, go up."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh yeah, they done."
You know what I'm saying? When you struggle, and then they couldn't get the ball inbounds. I remember Kiki Rice was out of bounds, and then she got a foul. I said, "Bro, what are we doing? What are we doing, bro? We that." And I can see the coach. When the coach starts making that like that, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
When they get frustrated, I'm like, it's over.
Yep.
Because I can't not coach. Like if you're scared, you're scared. Yeah. I can't get you out of the state of scared.
I can't coach you out of that.
You know what I'm saying? I can draw plays up. I can set you up. You know what I mean? But like if you scared, you're gonna play scared.
Yep.
And it don't matter. I can say I guys gonna do that in the third. Because I remember they came out of a timeout and then turned the ball over. They had like 14 turnovers.
Yeah.
I said, damn, they that freaking out.
Yep.
They freaked out.
It was a wrap. And
then AZ Fudd came to hoop.
Yep. Fudd came to hoop. Paige came to hoop.
Yeah.
The freshman. Sarah Strong,
yeah,
hooping. UConn got a squad, man.
Yeah.
UConn got a squad.
So I can't wait to see how that game plays out. But obviously, on the men's side, we're in the Final Four.
Yep.
National championship game will be on Monday.
Yep.
Next week we'll kind of break down how
that game.
But Cooper Flagg was named
the
the Player of the Year.
Yep.
I call
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Captain America.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
What do you think is his what do you see for him as far? Because I got a take about him that I just thought about.
Okay.
I'm curious about. What do you think about him as far as his possibilities going into the league?
I think he is a higher ceiling Kevin Love. I think it's a higher.
Why Kevin Love? That's an interesting comparison.
In terms of he's got a really great 3 levels of scoring, which I don't think Kevin Love really had. He's got some really good handles, and he lives above the rim. So I can see like all-star.
So not Kevin Love.
Yeah, not Kevin Love, but I see all-star potential out of him. It just all determines on where he goes and if that team keeps him healthy and really helps him develop that NBA style game. Because I don't know, because he's just athletic and really talented, But it's going to become the intricacies of the NBA that he's got to learn. And if he gets that down, he'll be fine.
So after everything that's taken place this past week between Ja Morant and him getting fined by the league, and then Anthony Edwards off the court shenanigans and the on court shenanigans as well, and just everything that's taking place, a lot of the American-born players, Zion got shut down. We'll talk about all that.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? The league need Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
They need him in the worst way.
We need a safe superstar.
Hopefully he turns to a superstar.
Yeah.
But a player who you feel like can be marketed to the masses.
Yep.
Can hoop, two-way player because he plays both sides of the ball. And you feel like, okay, like he can kind of, along with the guys, the Shays of the world,
right,
can kind of usher in a new era of basketball.
Yeah.
Because I hate to say it, but as much as we like Anthony Edwards and Ja and Zion and these other guys, it's feeling very early mid-2000s-ish as far as the 100%.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? The stuff that Iverson and Marbury, Melo and Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah.
Some of the things they kind of got caught up in, the Malice of the Palace and all that kind of stuff that was happening. It feels, not that it's to that extent, but it feels like these players are more of akin to that than the previous era.
It's hard to make these guys marketable when the stuff you kind of do is either boneheaded or just not it's not marketable, right? I as much as we love Ant's style of play, the off the court stuff will get him in trouble too much. Mm-hmm. As much as we like Ja's above the rim ability, the finger guns got to stop.
Yeah, it
just has to stop. But
it's funny. Let's stay right there. It's okay. So for me, it's not that it's not marketable because, quite frankly, I think depending on the person, depending on the kids, some kids they like that type of stuff, right?
True.
You know what I mean? We see there's a reason why Stone Cold Steve Austin was dope.
True.
He was stunning his boss, had a shaved head and giving people the middle finger, but that didn't deter people from going to see him.
True.
There's a reason why bands like Motley Crue was able to sell out arenas.
True.
No matter how bad you were, some people like bad. They like that type
the bad
of stuff.
boy. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? They like that. So it's not that it's marketable. It's that we don't want this particular thing to be the face of our league.
True.
We don't want to market it. We don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? David Stern didn't want to market Iverson.
No, he didn't.
He still sold shoes. The question is still sold.
Yeah.
Still probably had his jerseys were still, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if we can move off you, we're going to do it.
Right.
And I think the league is in a spot where okay, we really don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We got to market these guys because who else we going to market? Tyrese Halliburton?
No.
Jalen Brunson? You know what I'm saying? So right now, this will be fine, right?
Right.
Because we can't just market a bunch of international players because we're still based in the United States, right? So we still got to have some guys here.
Right,
that
we still need American-born stars.
Yeah. To link. Well, the thing about Jason Tatum is I think you can market him. It's just I don't want to say he's devoid of a personality, but he struggles for that to shine through. Yeah. And when that struggle to shine through, then you got to do it for him.
Well, it's the wrestling analogy, right? What happens when you're not a good person on the mic? You get a manager attached to you,
right?
In order to help get your push, and that's what Jason Tatum needs. That's what he would need.
Yeah.
To be the face of the league, and that's not always going to work.
And that's not a knock against him, by the way.
Right.
Mike had Spike Lee.
Exactly.
Penny Hardaway had Lil Penny, a.k.a. Chris Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah.
And sometimes you may need a little help.
You may need it. You might need it,
You may need a little help. So, I think Tatum, for some reason, people feel like he's inauthentic.
Yeah.
Like the whole, remember the whole thing over the summer?
Yeah.
He trying to pose like Kobe and all that. People just feels like, okay, bro, whatever.
Yeah.
And also, for some reason in the history of the league, there's only been one Boston Celtic that has been able to be quote unquote marketable, and that was Larry Bird.
Yep. Yeah.
Every other Boston, for some reason, Boston Celtics.
I remember watching. I don't remember whose YouTube video it was, but he kind of explained it where it's like Boston Celtics players are for Boston. They're not for anybody else. And that's to your point where it's just like, you're a Boston star, and that's probably all you ever will be, and you'll be fine there, but you'll never break out of that little Boston bubble for the Celtics unless you're Larry Bird.
Yeah, he was the only one. And he's one of the top 10 greatest players of all time.
Yeah.
And he came in the league during a different time. He had the Magic was his opponent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That helped him to the heck. But
Yeah.
the fact that he had his opposite, the exact opposite of him, played in the Lakers.
Yeah.
So like if there was like another guy kind of opposite of Tatum, if Anthony Edwards was in a Laker uniform, maybe it'd be easy.
Yeah.
It'd be like Star Wars, the Jedi versus like,
the Sith.
The Sith. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be, you can determine depending on who you like. That's who falls into what category, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think with the Cooper Flag thing, I'm like, you know what? Like, if I'm the league, I'm
looking at my chops. We need him.
We need him.
We need him
Because the rest of these guys, and it's going to get to it right now, have just been on one buffoonery street after another.
Facts.
You know what? And I hate to say this. I watched some clips last week. I don't know, for some reason I went into like a Nightmare on Elm Street thing. I don't know what it was. I was watching this documentary on Paramount about 80s rock and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, got you.
And one of the bands was called Dokken, and they had a song called Dream Warriors. And the fourth installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, I believe it was the fourth, maybe the third one, was about Dream Warriors. They fought. They fought back. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, you know what? Some of these, those kids died and it sucked, but I wish Freddie was I wish these kids, I wish Ja and Zion, I wish these dudes lived on Elm Street. You know what I'm saying? They deserve it.
Right.
Them kids, them poor kids.
They didn't do nothing.
You know what I'm saying? They weren't out here want to do bad things with their hood rat friends. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These dudes do. So put their ass on Elm Street.
Yeah, let them fight.
Right. And put those kids should have been on Sesame Street. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
It's only fair. Obviously, the Grizzlies were playing the Warriors.
Yep.
And now, I can't confirm this or not, but apparently, maybe Buddy
Hield kind of egged it on first, apparently. I've seen what Buddy Hield did, and it seems like he kind of shot the finger guns first, and then Josh shot him back. But it's the old sports adage, right? Say for the guy who does it first,
right.
You always gonna get caught, bro.
What do you think Buddy said? I didn't shoot you, man.
Wasn't me, man.
Yeah. I shot the shit out. But then Ja, retaliated back or whatever, and then jawed at the Warriors as well. And then obviously it caught fire because of his recent past instances and all that kind of stuff. He would end up being fined $75,000 by the NBA. What's your take on what's happening? Let's start with the Grizzlies overall. They fired. We talked about last week. They fired Tate Jenkins.
Yep. They're
spiraling or whatever. Ja, this whole thing's going on. We're talking about a team who a couple years ago was like a top 2 team, was fine in the West.
They were fine. Yeah, they were second. They were second in postseason. 3 years ago?
They were fine in the West. Now here we are. Light comes at you fast.
Yeah.
What'd you take on everything was happening right now?
I think this does show why Taylor Jenkins probably needed to go. Lack of institutional control. At some point, you got to get your superstar to lock in by like, hey, bro, I don't need the antics. I need ball. It shows that the organization has no sway on him. Ja's going to be Ja. And if that's the case, I could see them down the road soon here moving off of him and just being like, yo, we're doing a fat reset because we don't trust you to be the leader, to be the true leader that we need. And we don't know if we're going to get that. We don't know if we're going to get that from outside of this organization because you're the dominant player. So I could see the Grizzlies down the road moving off of him, unfortunately.
I think when I think of Ja, sometimes I think back to Allen Iverson in his early days with the Sixers and how important it was for him to have gotten Larry Brown when he did.
Yeah.
Because even though they butted heads and ultimately led to Larry Brown leaving and ultimately having success with the Pistons winning in 2004, they were able to somewhat get on the same page, which led to Iverson having his best season, going to the NBA Finals, winning MVP, still the game off Shaq and Kobe Lakers. The only game they lost during that entire 2001 playoff run. I think that's what Ja needs. Even if it's brief, he definitely needs a
no BS coach.
An Ime Udoka. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a Tom Thibodeau. He needs a guy like that who, bro.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, if I was his coach, I'm keeping it a buck. He wouldn't like me.
No.
First off, I'm banning your daddy from the game.
Facts.
No more your daddy on the sideline. None of that.
Yep.
Your boys, they can't come to the game.
Yeah, they can't come.
Either.
Yep.
What do you want to do, Ja? That was my question. Like, what's the goal here?
Yeah.
We trying to have fun and we trying to hoop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what?
Yeah. What do you want to be a real NBA player? Can you buy into all the hard crap that we got to do?
Right.
The hard practices, the hard sessions in film. Are you ready for that? Because if you are, let's do it. If not, it's gonna be a rough day in the office for you, buddy.
Also, it's like, bro, you're here.
Yeah.
We know you can be talented.
Yep.
We seen you win games. So like, but there's another level for you to go.
Yep.
In order for you to tap into that another level, there are some things you have to internally that you got to ask yourself and work on.
Yep.
If not, then you will just maintain this level, and then eventually you'll drop.
Yep. And you'll be out. You'll be out the league sooner than you think.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Right. You won't have as long of a stay as you probably should. And also, bro, you can't be doing all that and missing 30+ games.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So you're not even physically. You need to physically get yourself. You need to get your physical right and your mental right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I do think there's a world where he is an upper echelon star, marketable guy in the league.
I agree.
Because of disrespect, but when you analyze all the guards, all the point guards in the league, the rest they cool.
They cool. Donovan Mitchell, cool.
Yeah. Garland, cool.
Yeah. Jalen Brunson, cool. And cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about point guards.
Oh yeah, point guards. Yeah. Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Darren Fox.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, ain't none of them to me are like, that's Steph.
Ja literally jumps out the page, literally and figuratively.
No doubt.
And like you said, like that is marketable. That is a star. But if your mental isn't there, because I don't even say you have to want to be a star, but you have to want to be great at least.
Yes.
And that's what I'm questioning. Do you want to be great? Do you want to have a legacy beyond the guns? Because if not, that's all people will remember you for. When it's all said and done, that's all they'll remember you for. This dude kept getting suspended for stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you shouldn't be okay with that.
Again, it's funny when guys retire and they get a podcast and they start talking about, well, this happened to me, this happened to me. It's like, dog, you had a chance during your career to change the trajectory of your career.
Yep.
You had a chance.
Yep.
And you chose not to do it. So that's why with Ja, it's like the same thing. I don't want to hear you, 11, 15 years from now, we on your podcast. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Talking about, well, the league was out to get me. And no, bro. No. You have an opportunity right now to restart and change. Because I don't think players understand this. The NBA is an interesting career. And sports is in that you get to reset every year.
Yep.
See, most people don't have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, when you work at a regular job, there's very few chances to reset.
Yeah.
If you mess up, they're gonna remember that mess up forever.
Yeah, you don't. But there's no. Let me go further. There's no off season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like your job just happens.
Your
your
only reset is a new job.
Yeah, exactly. That's your only reset is a new job. That's it. But you have an off season.
Yep.
Recalibrate, change some things, and then come back. And if you hoop and do great and have no problems, then everything will be forgotten.
Yep.
Right? Ja Morant has a chance next because they're going. I don't care what happens this year. This season's a wash to me.
Yeah.
He has a chance to come back next year and redo. So look, Kyrie Irving.
Yes.
Bro, as a Maverick fan, once Kyrie went to that, I'm telling you, last year, he going to the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
That was all. I'm telling you, had last year happened before they announced the NBA Top 75,
there's
a chance he makes it.
Yeah.
Like everything's kind of water under the bridge.
Whatever happened in Brooklyn didn't happen.
Yeah.
It really didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because he reset in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. And so Ja Morant has that opportunity to do that, right? It's like, bro, get yourself together.
Yep.
Put all that other stuff, grow up.
Yeah, grow up.
You know what I'm saying? Understand what time it is, and then go from there because, again, you were not that – there is talent on your team.
Yep.
You got Desmond Bain, got Jalen Wells, got Jaren Jackson, maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to there's a chance he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, so they may have to pay him that money. It's trending toward either being like Mobley or Draymond Green, you know what I'm saying? So he may, or even, Dyson Daniels, something like that. So I don't think he has to pay him. He's probably going to end up being there long term. But there is talent.
On the roster.
Aldama, you know what I'm saying? There is talent on that roster. Get the right coach in. We'll see what the guy that they brought in to be on Taylor Jenkins' staff. They're going to give him a chance to run. He may have a chance to actually be the head coach next season, which may struggle. Ja doesn't like his style because Ja wants more on the ball style. Doesn't like the setting screens, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if they bring in another guy who can kind of like bring the reins in, I think he has a chance to redo his career and start over and change the the narrative around
the
him.
perception, yeah.
Speaking of another guy who needs a reset, Zion Williamson.
Yep.
Been shut down by the New Orleans Pelicans again.
Yep.
I don't know. I haven't been this sad about a player in a long time.
Yeah.
But there have been some guys who I've been fans of who I was like, damn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Blake Griffin, I was a huge fan of him. Gilbert Arenas, I was a huge fan of him. Brandon Roy was a huge fan of him. Whereas, like, for other reasons, like, you know, Brandon Roy was injury.
Yep.
Blake Griffin, it was injury.
Yep.
Gilbert Arenas, it was injuries
and mental.
You know, just immaturity and all that kind of stuff. And with Zai's, like, injuries and some other things, it's like, dog, are we ever going to see?
Yeah, the biggest. What's that dude's name who does the stunted growth?
I don't know his name.
I forget his name.
I mean, the name of the channel is called Stunted Growth.
Yeah, Stunted Growth.
I don't know if you told me his real name. I don't know his real name.
But yeah, like Zion.
Stunted Growth guy.
Stunted Growth.
I call the dude from it's funny. Side note, for the longest time, I never called Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. Kevin McAllister. I called him Home Alone.
So not Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
Just Home Alone.
Yeah.
That's Home Alone.
Yeah, that's right. I promise
You mean Macaulay
That's
Culkin?
exactly how I was saying. That's Home Alone. Okay, continue.
But like Zion would fit perfectly in one of his videos, unfortunately, where it just feels like we never got to see a full-powered Zion Williamson in the NBA. And it feels like that started at Duke, unfortunately.
You know what's worse, though, is when he plays, he's good.
He's great.
It'd be one thing if he was like, he played and it was like,
Yeah, you're kind of garbage.
Yeah, or you just like,
You're not as advertised.
Yeah, he be hooping.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, talent still there.
Yeah.
Talent still there. You still explode everybody. You still zoom up. Nobody can. You're still a freight train going to the, like, you know what I'm saying? You're like a mix between Charles Barkley, Larry Johnson, LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? Like
You are like when he's on the court, you see it.
Yeah, he's like the thing from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Without
the rocks.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just immovable.
Right. And because my thing with Zion, I know people, we talk about the Charles Barkley comparisons, but I don't think I'll use me as an example. As somebody who's struggled with weight my entire life and the back and forth with it. When you drop a weight, and I'm talking about a significant amount.
Yeah.
You notice it.
Yes.
It's like, it's like not being able to like have like fuzzy glasses or not being able to see, and then finally putting glasses on and just seeing like a different picture.
Right.
That's what happens when you finally lose that weight. Your joints feel different. Breathing feels different. Things you take for granted just feels different. You know what I'm saying? When you do that little trot when somebody keep the door before you,
right? And
you do that little trot.
The trot feels easier.
The trot feels a little bit like, oh, I got a little, you know what I'm saying?
I got a little something here.
Let me walk back real quick. You know what I'm saying? like the little, just things like that. And I wish Zion would see, like, how Charles Barkley, like what he looked like once he dropped that weight, and how he became an instant MVP candidate in Philly and was able to continue that even to his Phoenix days. Because I don't think another thing with weight, once you drop a lot of weight, it is, don't get me wrong. Now, if you really want to, you can get it back.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
barring anything drastically crazy happening in your life, it'll be very difficult for you to just put it all back on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And with you being a professional basketball player and doing what you're supposed to be doing, it should be difficult for you to put it all back on. You know what I'm saying? In fact, I think it's opposite the other way, where when you've been skinny your whole life and then you gain weight, I think it's more difficult to get off, a la Sean Kemp.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you've been smaller, gain a bunch of weight, and then try to go back down, that's harder.
Right.
than when you've been bigger, lose all that weight and still maintain what you've been doing to lose all that weight. You maintain most of that, you'll never get back to where you used to be.
Right. And also another thing I think he'll understand is once you lose it, and I tested this, there is a fear
of getting all that back.
Getting it back.
Yeah.
That'll always kick in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It'll always kick in because right now he may not notice it, but if he drops a lot of weight, you'll notice a 5-pound gain.
Yeah.
You'll notice a 10-pound gain, and that'll freak you out because in your mind, oh shit, okay, if I gain 5, if I gain 10, that could lead to 10, 20 25, 30.
Yeah.
And then you whatever
and I'm back to where I was.
Yeah, so that'll freak you out, and you'll trust me. It'll mentally it'll be like it just won't happen. You just won't let it happen. And then because there's a world to me where Zion loses, if he can get to 260, 250.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. If he gets 252, Zion wins the MVP.
I agree. I 100% agree. If he's a solid 250 pounds, mostly muscled, lean, there's nobody that can stop him.
And Pelicans get into the finals.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Yeah. If he gets down there, not only does he win an MVP at some point in his career, the New Orleans Pelicans, or whoever team he's with, gets to the finals.
Yeah.
Because there's no stopping it.
No.
There's no stopping it. I just hope that he realized that before it's too late.
Yeah. Well, again, this is the same question that you would ask John, you would ask Zion, what do you want out of this career? Because like you said, when you 15 years or 11 years in the league and then 3 or 4 years out, I don't want to hear the podcast about this, that, the third. We watched it in real time. Mm-hmm. We watched you kind of self-sabotage, and there's no rewriting that history. It is what it is.
Speaking of rewriting history, I want to give some love to some teams that we don't really talk about that often on this podcast. Okay. One is the Houston Rockets, and the other is the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
Both of which clinched playoff spots
this
week. Not play-in spots.
Playoff
spots, right? And the reason I want to show some love to them is because being born in 95, my first finals was Nets Spurs. God awful. God awful. But that means that after that, I was truly entrenched in watching the NBA.
Yeah.
Well, the next season
was
Pistons.
Lakers.
Lakers. Pistons Lakers.
Yeah.
And even before that, I got to watch the classic Pacers Pistons series. I was rooting for the Pacers. I was pissed when Tayshaun Prince blocked Reggie Miller. I was hot. But I remember that run of the Wallace boys and Rip Hamilton with the mask and Tayshaun Prince and Big Shot Chauncey Billups and all that kind of stuff. And Lindsey Hunter and all these other guys and Tony McDyess later on. And I remember that run of the 03 to 08, whatever, of how just good they were. Even on the losing end, I remember they involved in some classic games. LeBron going 25 straight.
Yeah.
Like how just immensely talented they were. They were the stalwarts of the East. You had to get through them to get to the finals.
Yep.
And to see that pretty much be dormant.
Yeah.
Pretty much up until now. I know they had some moments here and there.
They had a couple runs here and there.
But they never got out of the first round.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And now it feels like for the first time since that era, they actually have a viable future.
Yeah.
We weren't sure last year when they was under homeboy who I didn't believe in, Monty Williams.
Yeah.
Who took the job for the money. We know he took it, right?
Yep.
And he made some voodoo lineups. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Killian Hayes again. We sure? Like
sure?
You know what
I mean?
Yeah. But we've seen what happens when you have a healthy Cade Cunningham.
Yep. And
you bring in veterans. We talk about the important. Speaking of Zion, speaking of Ja Morant, the Pistons brought in veterans.
Yep.
You know what?
Because it's what we always talk about with young teams. At some point, you got to cut off some of these youngsters. Be like, hey, you're not showing us anything. You're not showing us enough. We got to bring in some guys who are proven, just good basketball players in the NBA to move forward at this point.
Yeah, and that should be how most teams operate.
Yeah,
draft a bunch of young guys. Pick the ones you can work with. Trade off the rest.
Yep.
Bring in some younger guys to show them. Okay, now it's time for us to win. Now it's time for us to know how to win. It's time, and we saw it work with, like I said, Chris Paul and Devin Booker.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It was working in Houston.
It's working in Houston right now, and it's working with the Pistons right now. Yeah.
And just shout out to them. Shout out to JB Bickerstaff.
Yeah.
I know it probably must. I'm glad that he's having this success because I can see how it would hurt to leave the situation he was in. Watch that team thrive even more. People forget J.B. Bickerstaff was the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Of Cleveland, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now
that would suck to leave, watch Cleveland have this amazing season, and be sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
Or just be on a team that's just not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a good shout out to him that, hey, no, you good.
Right.
It's just that team wasn't for you.
Mm-hmm. And so just shout out to them. Shout out to Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren and Thompson and Malik Beasley.
Yep.
I'm happy he hooping because I always liked him.
Yeah, Malik Beasley. Yeah,
I always liked Malik Beasley. I'm like, he could hoop. I know he has some off the court stuff, with women and all that was wilding. You know what I'm saying? But he could always shoot to me.
Yeah.
Like I always liked his game, and so I am glad that that's been able to show some more. You know what I mean? But like I said, I just think they did the right thing, bringing in Beasley and Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris, just to settle the young guys, bringing bigger staff, and now look what they are.
Yep.
And same thing.
They do with Houston. Brought in Ime Udoka.
Mm-hmm. Didn't hesitate either.
Yeah.
First chance that he got to be
hireable.
Yeah.
Quickly.
You know what I'm saying?
Come here.
Right. And they had some young guys. They hit on Sengun.
Yeah.
Jalen Green started to kind of really get more consistently.
Around, yeah.
You know what I mean? And somebody made this point. They're so talented that the guys they drafted this past year don't play.
Yeah.
Reed Shepard doesn't play.
Yep.
Cam Whitmore doesn't play.
Yep.
Any other team, Reed's probably starting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Cam's getting some clock.
Yep.
That's how talented this team is. And we don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I got them. They could be their young teams.
Yeah,
they could be one and done.
They could be one and done. They can make it to the second round.
Yeah.
Who knows? But the fact that the turnaround got them to a second seed in a very competitive. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most important context in this. It's a competitive West.
Right.
And the fact that they made it to the second seed is still impressive that they've held on to that.
And it also goes to show you that, quote unquote, rebuilds, if done right, don't have to take forever.
Yep.
James Harden left. Remember, him and Russ went to the second round in the bubble against LeBron and Lakers, right?
Yep. That was
2020.
Yep.
It's 2025. They made the playoffs. It don't got to take 10, 15, 20 years, dog.
5 years.
All it takes is an owner who's committed to winning.
Yep.
Right? Get the right coach in.
Right front office to scout talent and bring in guys.
Right. And not just get talent, but develop the talent.
Yep.
Again, we see a lot of players get the teams, but the team just kind of like, all right, figure it out.
Yeah.
No. Coach them.
Yep.
Guide them. Lead them.
Yep.
And then the cream always right to the top.
Yep.
And then you will move off the guys who are just there.
Yep.
Bring in the veterans. Like they brought in some veterans.
Yep.
Right. Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks, Jeff Green. You know what I'm saying? And stabilize the team. And now here we are.
Yep.
And so I just want to give a shout out to those teams who I felt like did it the right way.
You did the right way. The process is dead, y'all.
Yeah.
There's no need to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can make the argument. My brother's team did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Got the picks, found the right guys, moved off the ones you did, brought in vets.
Again, the Thunder.
Yeah, Thunder
made the bubble with Chris Paul.
Yep.
That was 2020.
Yep.
Russ left in the 2019 offseason, right, to join Houston. You know what I'm saying? Again, and theirs even shorter. They made the playoffs last. You know what I'm saying? So it don't gotta take long.
It don't take that long.
You know
if you are really committed to winning, it won't take that long.
Right.
It won't take that long. You'll be at the top eventually.
Standing in the NBA world, it's time to show some love to guys we grew up watching.
Yep.
Carmelo Anthony.
Yep. Melo.
Dwight Howard. Have officially made
the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame.
Much earned.
Yeah.
Much earned. Melo was. Both of these guys were some of my favorite players.
100%.
Growing up, especially Dwight. I was a huge fan of those Magic teams.
I was a believer in Dwight, man. I was such a believer.
I was a huge fan of those Magic teams. Dwight, Rashard Lewis, Jameer Nelson, J.J. Redick, Marcin Gortat, like Anthony Johnson off the bench, Courtney Lee. Like I was really Mikael Pietrus. I was really rocking with those teams, man. I remember being heartbroken when LeBron hit that buzzer beater in 2009. I was like, oh, damn, you know what I'm saying? But then they ended up winning that series anyway.
Yep.
And I was like, cool, and they got to the final, lost to Kobe and them. And then they ended up going back the following year, ended up losing, unfortunately, to the Boston Celtics, who were healthy. They were hurt the year before they were healthy this year. And that was pretty much it for that.
Yeah, that was it.
That run. But I like Dwight, man.
Yeah.
And it sucked that, like, the whole Stan Van Gundy, that kind of soured his time in Orlando. And then he gets the Lakers and him
never took off.
And then because of his relationship with Kobe, in a way that kind of framed him. And then after that, it just like he didn't get along with James Harden in Houston. And then this narrative just followed him.
Yeah, for the rest of his career.
But I was happy that he was able to somewhat kind of get it together and win a title with the Lakers.
Yes. Yeah, because he was him. Who was the other big boss?
JaVale
McGee. Yeah, him and JaVale McGee held it down defensively and in the rebounds for them.
Yeah.
That was a line. Those lineups were just deadly in the bubble. And I'm with you. I'm glad that he did get the chance to be an effective player and help win a championship.
And let's not get it twisted. He should have been top 75.
Yes.
He should have been top 75. I think Dwight Howard is arguably the second greatest defensive center of all time. First to me will always be Akeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
But that second spot is up for grabs. Some people, you can go with Bill Russell. You can go with Robert Parrish. You can go with David Robinson. You can go with Ben Wallace if you want to. You can go with Mount Mutombo.
Yeah, but Dwight Howard's in the conversation.
Yeah, but
He's
for me, he because he was more athletic than Mutombo.
Yeah,
he was. You know what I'm saying?
And he had really great defensive instinct.
Right, he had a somewhat better offensive game than Ben Wallace.
Yeah,
than a Robert Parrish. Probably, you know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know where you want to rank him, but he's up there.
Yeah,
and I wish people. I know people make the whole Shaq and can make fun of him and all that kind of stuff. I wish people will go back and just remember what this dude was the best.
You have to remember that time he was in Orlando, and he was legitimately one of the best basketball players in the league.
He finished like second or third MVP voting. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like
he was one of the best basketball players in the league at the time.
Yeah,
like, people forget about that.
And definitively the best big.
Yes,
definitively the best big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was that good again, and he anchored a team to the finals.
Yes.
Not too many guys can say that.
Nope.
He anchored a team to the finals. You know what I mean? In fact, I'm trying to think. So Shaq, I'm giving Dwayne Wade credit for 06.
Yeah.
So Shaq anchors
the Lakers
in let's say 04.
Yeah.
Let's give him 04. After that, what big? Maybe Duncan. But let's say center. Let's talk strictly centers.
Okay. Yeah, because Duncan's a power forward / center. Yeah.
What center anchored their team to the finals?
Yeah, because
Jokic prior to Jokic.
Shaq prior to Jokic, because you can't count Amani Stoudemire because they didn't make it to the finals.
No, he's a power forward anyway.
He's power forward. Yeah, right. Power forward. Yeah, you're right.
Dirk was a power forward.
Dirk was power forward. Yeah, because really the 2000s was the power forward era.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably Dwight.
You know what I'm saying? So Dwight was a guy who even after that it was until Jokic that a guy was a center on his team that anchored a team to the finals. So he was just him for a while. So I'm glad that he got his just due, and I'm glad and it wasn't no bull. It wasn't no he got passed over, and we gotta have a conversation. Is Dwight Howard Hall of Famer or not? It's done.
Yep.
He's in there cleanly, and we ain't gotta have that BS conversation because he definitely deserved to be in. He deserved to be top 75.
Yep.
Melo,
he was always gonna be in.
No brainer.
Yep. Always gonna be in. One of the best small forwards.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best mid-range games. Just all around great shooter.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that he couldn't compete for a championship. But still, I can't remember a guy whose game was just so smooth to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just a smooth player. Unfortunately, near the end there, it wasn't as efficient as he could be, which kind of hurt him. But I don't think of a guy whose game I would want to emulate more back then than his.
I mean, Melo again. I wasn't a fan of his in Denver because I already had my West team.
Right.
When we joined the Knicks,
it was easy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I wanted him to break through so bad.
Yeah.
Melo was a hooper.
He is.
You know what I mean? 6'8", strong body.
Yep.
He doesn't get enough credit for how fundamentally sound he was.
Yeah.
Like, as far as just triple threats. And
triple threat.
His night had an explosive first step.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Obviously anchored that Syracuse team.
Yep.
In 03 against Kirk Heinrich and the crew. The Kansas crew and all that kind of stuff. Was probably the first real one-and-done freshman to have success.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Prior to guys like Anthony Davis and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I guess that like you said, the fluidity to his game. Like, it's only a handful of guys who had that type of, fluidity. Guys like McGrady, guys like Paul George.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But also could play bully ball.
Yeah, exactly. He was strong enough that you couldn't you couldn't bully him with a center. He could go toe to toe with some guys who were just as strong as him.
Mm-hmm.
He was fluid enough that a guard he could get around.
Yeah. Well, he's too big for guards.
Yeah.
And too quick for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like just a great overall game that if you just quantify his highs, you would have probably one of the best. You could say he was way more he's way more skilled than LeBron at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of just pure basketball skill. LeBron at that time was
offensively.
Offensively. LeBron at that time was still in his power forward linebacker era with Miami. So he had a lot more skill offensively at that time.
Cleveland or Miami?
When he was in Miami.
Because Miami is probably the best version of LeBron.
Yeah, it's probably the best version of LeBron, but
I think Cleveland's more his Like, what you're describing.
Yeah.
Miami LeBron. No disrespect.
I think that
Melo was no disrespect to Melo,
that
but
first year in Miami.
No disrespect.
That's what he was still on his Cleveland timing. After that,
man, no disrespect to Melo. When about the minute LeBron feet hit Miami soil, it wasn't close.
Fair enough.
They weren't even in.
Fair enough.
They weren't even in the same.
Fair enough.
Stratosphere. It was LeBron, Kobe, and then everybody else just happened to be in the league. You know what I mean?
True.
I just want to get that clear before people start saying like. And honestly, after 2007, it wasn't close either.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
True.
Like, cause so we want to put it out there before people say.
But you could still argue that Melo was still a better shooter than LeBron.
Oh yeah, well, that's a lot of dudes. Yeah, a lot of guys.
Like that's what I'm talking about. Just in terms of just the skills that Melo brought.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
The thing that annoyed me the most about Melo though is when you go back and watch the 2009 Western Conference Finals between them and the Lakers.
Yeah.
You got to see what happens when he's engaged on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
You go, if that dude existed year in and year out, maybe his career goes a little bit differently.
100%.
But we only got that guy to me. I only saw him play like that time.
Yep.
I never saw him play like that really beforehand or afterwards.
Yeah.
And that sucks because, again, Melo was a guy who resurrected Denver.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Resurrected the Knicks.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Well, Maury kind of did the year before. You know what I'm saying? Like they had kind of what's it called? Steady the ship, ready the ship,
Right of the ship.
Right of the ship.
Yeah.
A little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because again, they had Maury Stoudemire.
Yeah.
They had Danilo Gallinari.
That's true.
They had Wilson Chandler. They had some guys on the team
true.
that kind of helped push them out of the doldrums that they were in, but Denver was just nothing.
Yeah, Denver was nothing.
They were nothing. You know what I'm saying? And he helped. That jersey that was everywhere.
The powder blue or that baby blue, whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
there was a team here that we played on the AU circuit called Team St. Louis. Their colors was essentially the Denver Nuggets colors. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that was.
Yeah. I will give him that. That colorway is his.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, he made it popping. You know what I'm saying? It sucks that he didn't leave Denver on better terms because that 15 is Jokic's.
Yeah,
but. That jersey number he made it fire. Like 15, like you know, the braids. It's just it was the style. Like he was
he was cool.
He was cool.
He's cool.
Melo's one of the coolest players. He's for our generation. How guys talk about some guys from the 90s. How like Penny Hardaway,
right? Yeah,
Grant Hill, and Allen Houston and Larry Johnson, and like guys who really didn't do anything. Yeah. But like they were just cool players. Yeah. That's what Melo is for us.
Yeah, definitely.
He's on that list of him, McGrady, Gilbert Arenas. Like they were just cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to be there to understand how cool this guy is. You can't really use these last Portland and Oklahoma City and Houston and Lakers.
Don't really use those stints.
You gotta go back and watch when he first came to the league to understand why people thought that this guy could be the best player to win the title.
We didn't mention he used to live above the rim too.
Yeah.
He used to live above the rim. Like that's how fun he was when he first came in the league.
Yeah. And also I want to give him credit for like how he prioritized Team USA. Yeah. Like I felt like beforehand, a lot of guys show up, do my little 1 year. The guys feel like the military. I'm doing my 1 year of service and I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me get my contractual obligations out the way. I gotta do Team USA.
Like,
but he took that on.
Yeah, he made like a thing where it's like, okay, no, this is something like you when it's time to do the Olympics, you win it. Yep. Ain't no I'm gonna do it for my 1 year and I'm out. Like he made it cool. Him and guys like Kevin Durant really made it a thing. Like this is 2, 3. This also is a part of my.
Yes, this is a part of my legacy as well. Yeah.
So shout out to but I'm happy for both of them.
I'm happy for both of them too. Yep.
Moving on from that though, big story came out this past week involving Pat McAfee.
Yep.
So for anybody who doesn't know, that was a story that came out, I guess, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. About a cheerleader.
About a young lady, student.
Yeah.
Student who went to Ole Miss.
Yep.
The school I visited.
Yep.
I visited Ole Miss in 2008. It was hot as hell. Bro, it was so like this. It was so hot, no lie. I had some new Converses and they had just paved the asphalt.
Damn.
So first off, it's hot as hell. Yeah. So it's hot on the ground.
The asphalt hot.
And around the same time, Obama was visiting Ole Miss. Yes.
Dang.
Again, so this is 2008. Yeah.
So you 8th grade.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was there to see Michael Orr.
Right, Blindside.
Because
the book
was based off him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there. I had to read the book to win the opportunity to go there. I actually lost, but I
finessed your way.
I like
to get there. Anyway.
Hey, I was doing it back then. Man. Like you gonna leave me off of this? Really? You know what I'm saying?
You don't got enough people to go anyway.
Right. You know. And I had some Converses on, and the bottoms melted to the asphalt, bro.
Dang, ruined them, huh?
Gone.
Dang.
And I was like this, like you know, it was hot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Any chance I got to get on the grass, I took it. You know what I mean? But it's a campus. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of grass on campus.
Yeah, and it's Ole Miss. Oxford is hot as hell. But yeah. Anyway, she went to Ole Miss, and a story. Don't know where it
came from. Yeah.
That her father slept with his son's girlfriend, which ended up being her.
Yeah.
Right. And it somehow became a story, right?
Yeah.
Now I think it became in the way Pat McAfee somehow mind you, this has nothing to do with sports.
Nothing at all.
This is not a sports story. Now Jackson Dart, Ole Miss quarterback.
Yeah.
So I guess his way of bringing it all together was, Jackson Dart, goes to Ole Miss. You know what I'm saying? And because he went to Ole Miss, we can bring this story in. Yeah. And he brought it in the midst talking about it with Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
And you could tell right away, Adam was like, what? You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry?
Right. Like, I know y'all, this is y'all thing. This is weird. Y'all the boys, and y'all like busting balls and all that. But what does this have to do with
anything sports related?
Yeah.
I'm football, dog.
Right. And it's just it was a mess, right? Yeah. And then obviously when you do something like that and you don't and it has nothing to do with it, it's messy.
Yeah.
It's gossipy and
it's tabloidy.
Yeah.
That's some TMZ type shit.
And her picture started to spread and all that kind of stuff. And obviously it can cause problems, and she couldn't go to class and security and things of that nature. And it just messed up everybo's life. You know what I mean? Her boyfriend, her dad, the boyfriend's dad. Like, you know what I mean? Because it gets messy. And I guess news came out this week that she's pursuing legal action.
She's pursuing legal action against Pat McAfee. I don't know what type of suit it's going to be, but they're in the process of pursuing legal action against Pat McAfee, rightfully so, because as you the journalist, I said, there's certain things you just don't do.
Right.
And this is one of the big ones. You just no matter what you are, no matter how big or small your platform is, you don't just broadcast unverifiable information. You just can't do that. And
it's funny because Pat McAfee is not a journalist,
no,
right? Which is probably what he's going to lean his hat on. He used the word allegedly, which he's probably going to lean his hat on. And again, another thing with allegedly, people, you don't get to start off by saying allegedly and then say the wildest thing after that and think that lets you off the hook.
Because you knowing how I know people report on things, you use allegedly when you're talking about a story that's already in the legal system, right? That's when you use it, right? When I hear that someone is suing someone, that's when you use allegedly. Allegedly, these actions happened in regards to this suit. That's the only time you use it. You can't just sprinkle allegedly anywhere you want. You use it when you are covering a story already in progress that already has potential evidence there. That's when you can,
or lack thereof. Or you don't really know.
You don't know.
It just happened. So this person, and really, you're saying alleged because it is alleged.
It's alleged.
The person is saying they did this, but that's neither been confirmed nor denied.
Right, but this is already there's already legal proceedings. That's when you can use allegedly. Otherwise, you shouldn't be using that.
Yeah. And I think it's funny this week, last week with the whole LeBron and Stephen A. and people got on Stephen A. because he had to apologize because he said the thing incorrectly. I'm hoping the same stuff gets applied to Pat McAfee.
100%.
Because there is this new era of, and it started with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And it's kind of linked where it's like, all right, boys will be boys, and guys can just say anything off the wall, and there'll be no repercussions, and hey man, it's just what I mean?
Conversation.
Just conversation. We just saying whatever. Like, it is what it is. It's like, no, dude.
You got a platform.
When you have a platform, I don't care how big or how small, you have an obligation to protect the innocent.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Don't bring people into it who didn't ask to be brought into it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And you being very making fun of it and all that kind of stuff.
About it. Yeah.
And it's you did it without recognizing the harm it could do to the actual person.
To people involved, yeah.
Right. You find it funny. Oh, my God, it's crazy. Your dad sleeping with the dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, no, bro, like that's messed up.
That's messed up. And exactly. And you did that on national TV. You did it on one of the biggest sports networks on the country. That's not appropriate whatsoever. Because, again, this would be different if what was it? What was his name? The former Jets quarterback.
Which one's a couple? There's a lot of them. There's a lot of
BYU. Wilson. Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
The whole story about him sleeping with his best friend's mom or something. Haha, kind of funny. But it's still a quarterback in the National Football League. You can kind of joke about that. This person has no sports relation whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we talking about this?
Right.
That is different. This is just a regular person who you've just broadcasted some information about them that may not be true.
And it's funny because it's like, dog, you that story was burning you that much.
Yeah,
you was that itching,
you was that geeking to talk about that.
Yeah, like you couldn't wait. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm okay. I'm gonna bring this in. Like, I'm gonna bring this in.
Now again, like in college, we would have joked about that. Like with the boys in college, yeah, wow, that's wild, that's crazy, blah 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 blah. But you a 40-year-old man, bro. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
Like, I expect a higher level of maturity from you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even if
I don't, because I think his program is an immature program.
But in terms
it looks very crank anchorish.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Did I just date myself?
You did.
with the crank.
You did. But there is still at some point like, nah, bro, there are boundaries you don't cross in front of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about that behind the scenes? Go ahead. It's your right to.
Right.
It's your right to. But that's not something you talk about on camera.
The one thing, the biggest indictment to me against the professional sports media landscape is professionalism.
Yep.
And decorum.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys did not go to school for it. They weren't trained in it. So they just go out there, they just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
They just shooting off the hip. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like Stormtrooper style.
Stormtrooper style, like Old West.
Yeah. And it's just like, dog, no, like there are things. I'm surprised they edit that out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that a producer didn't like interject. Like,
yeah.
Well, but that's another part of the problem is that his producers aren't ESPN producers. That's his boys as well.
Right.
So you're not gonna get that check and balance that you would usually get.
Well, I mean, still, but you still on my airwaves now. I need you to at least run the rundown by me.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
True.
okay, what we going? Okay, Adam Schefter, because Adam Schefter's he's our
that's our analyst. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like let us know what you want to talk about with him so he can get prepared with his notes and all that kind of stuff. Don't just hey yo, by the way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't by the way me, nigga.
Yeah.
I hate when niggas by the way me. Don't by the way me. You know what I mean? Like don't I'm walking out the door. Yo, by the way, like you know. Test do them like teachers. Yo, by the way, y'all remember test do them. What, huh?
Wait,
you know what I'm saying?
Read the syllabus. I did. It wasn't on there.
Yeah. Well. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Like don't do that. And I thought it was very unprofessional, Pat. And it also just goes to show you where sports media is the fact that, hey, you know that just happened.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, and was slid under the rug. Meanwhile, we getting hooting and hollering by Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
And it's just like okay.
Yeah.
Like I thought, you know, I used to be a fan of Pat's until I recognized what his show meant for the future of sports media.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Like I'll watch it for like viral stuff to talk about, like the LeBron James interview, the things that we can't ignore.
Yeah. Well, once he got to ESPN, I also kind of pulled back a lot too, because I'm just like, okay, this isn't what I want out of it. This is what I want out of my national sports media.
Yeah. Well, I pulled back even beforehand because it started to feel, I don't know. I can't describe it, but it was unbecoming of what I wanted out of people who covered sports.
Right.
And he always, in effect, he brings in media and all that kind of stuff. So he tries to make his thing be more, get more validation to it. Like, we're legit, we're real. But still, the way he goes about things, the way he covers things, I just don't personally like it.
Yeah.
And no, it's not his fault though. I feel like the blueprint was. I feel like a lot of actual people who went to school for it leaned into that type of.
You know
what I mean? And opened up the door for the Pat McAfees of the world.
Like I said, no offense to Skip. I think Skips the dude we talked about last week. dude who was calling Chris Everett.
Jim Rome.
Jim Rome. Like that did kind of open up that door to this, and unfortunately, people did like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the unfortunate part. Is like you don't do this unless the audience wants to see it.
Right.
But at some point, you do need to rein it back in. It's like, hey, we got to be better than this.
And I'll be honest with you, whatever happens.
Yeah.
Like he earned it.
Yeah.
I hope she gets something.
I do too.
Because that's not fair.
That's not right.
That's not fair. Like my life gets turned upside down because you wanted to get a joke in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's not cool.
That's punching down. Unfortunately,
that's exactly what
punching down.
it is.
It's punching down, right? It's different when a comedian kind of does a little crowd work, but you don't know me. You don't get to do that. Mm-hmm. You should be throwing jokes at people at your level.
Yeah. And
I'm not. I can't defend myself.
Right.
And that's not right.
I just thought it was lame, and there are a lot of maybe that's what it is. I just think that what he does, I just think it's lame. I used to think when he first started, I thought it was cool. Like Joe Rogan, when he first started, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But then it got to the point where I was like,
this is where we're going. Okay.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, that's all the time we have for you guys today, man. You can follow me at Facebook at Bryce Oden. You can follow me at Instagram at Bryce David Oden. Bryce, go and tell him.
From me, Twitter, Bruce Lee Roy.
And remember, you hear from the horse of the mountain. Listen to Ask Who Told You. We out. Peace.